Paul Bodin has been placed in charge of Swindon till the end of the season, but their county ground hoodoo continued against Oldham. It's 14 without a win on their own patch now for the doomed Robins, as two superb strikes from man of the match Chris Taylor ensured that the points would be heading back up north. The first on 17 minutes, the second 20 minutes into the second half. And just like the first, all his own work. Latics skipper Taylor must wish he could play Swindon every week. He'd also scored against them in the 2-0 win at Boundary Park back in January.
Paul Bodin taking over from Paul Hart after Swindon's relegation was confirmed. A new Pauling on the bench, same old Pauling on the field.
Yes, a club in disarray. The chairman's resigned, calling the season a spectacular failure. And to think that this time last year, Swindon were in the playoffs. Will Paul Bodin take over? I think he's got a good chance. I know him from his time at Bath, and I thought he did very well there. Thought he was going to make a good manager. If he gets the opportunity, he'll certainly bring stability.
Oh dear, Rovers not yet mathematically down, but as good as, and you're very upset about that penalty.
Well, I'm not the only one. I thought it was a disgrace. I thought he bought it, there was no contact, and the players were rightly disappointed with him. He should be, in my opinion, retrospectively done.
Meantime, Swindon, it's quite a job to finish below a team that got deducted 10 points. They managed to do this in a year that started with them in the playoffs.
Absolutely devastation. You know, Danny Wilson went into this season, they've lost all their best players, they haven't replaced them. And then you think Paul Hart comes in, and if you haven't got the players to change things around, you've got nothing to work with. And I just feel that Plymouth's just got it all wrong this year, and it's a real shame.
Yeah.
Paul Bodin has been placed in charge at Swindon until the end of the season. His first task was to lift the gloom surrounding the county ground following the Robins relegation. The caretaker boss took the opportunity to start his teenage son, Billy Bodin, as Swindon went looking for their first home win since early December, and the 19-year-old wasn't too far away from claiming his first senior goal. The home side then threatened once more, but Jean-Francois Lexinel directed his header too close to Dean Brill. Despite making such a positive start to the match, the Robins soon found themselves behind, although it took a magnificent individual effort from Chris Taylor to put Oldham in front on 17 minutes. He'd also opened the scoring in the win over Swindon in January. And there was more to come from Taylor after the break. It's no secret that Swindon have struggled for goals since Charlie Austin's move to Burnley. Both Calvin Andrew and John Paul McGovern had chances to get the hosts back into the game, but the Latics somehow survived. It's been a dreadful campaign for the Wiltshire club, who this time last year were heading for the playoffs. The Robins were looking to give their fans something to shout about in their final home game of the season. Matt Ritchie thought he'd found an equaliser, only to be denied by Brill. And Oldham scored again to double their lead midway through the second half. Once again it was Taylor who found the target for the visitors, as he took his tally to 11 goals for the season. Oldham secured only their second win in 18 games. There was no way back for Swindon, who went down to their fourth successive defeat.